Good evening, everybody. You're very welcome to Clark's Bar here on Patrick Street in Mullingar for tonight's Iarmhi TV podcast, Football Up for the Game. Tonight we'll be looking forward to the weekend's football games coming up, starting with the two junior finals, which actually are not taking place till the following week, but we will preview all the football finals coming up. We have guests on the stage down here. I'll introduce them as I go along. But first of all, I'm joined here by the County Board Chairman, Frank Mescal. And Frank, we're going to have a quick word with you before we get the show on the road. Looking back on the last 5 years, Frank, your term is going to end on, I think it's the 10th of December next. How do you look back on the last 5 years?
I suppose one word would spring to mind immediately, and that would be busy. At times it was hectic. Billy Foley would have mentioned that you have a strategy in place and we need to prioritise and not be firefighting the whole time. But that doesn't work. You kind of have a basic strategy in mind, but you are firefighting because you never know what crops up. Now that might be from your own management, it might be from a club, just might be from an individual parent, and you have got to deal with it. Everybody deserves the attention, deserves the time, and that. So look at a very busy time. There was strategy involved, and you tried to prioritise things and get things done. Some of them worked, some of them didn't.
Frank, you've got a good bit of experience in appointing county managers as well in the 5 years. I think it's fair to say. The last 2 years we had it, but this year we have a new man installed again, Mark McHugh. You happy with the appointment? Are you looking forward to his tenure?
Yeah, it's one of the things I wish I didn't have experience in, because appointing a manager is a really, really difficult job. I must say the two football managers, the first two we appointed, were really, really easy. Unlike a lot of chairmen, I wouldn't have got rid of any of the managers we had, to be honest with you. I thought they were all great, all done a great job. Jack Cooney had to leave the footballers because of his job, got a great offer of a job, he had to take that. So I suppose the panel were looking for continuity there, and we had the right man in place, Desi, to step into those shoes immediately. We interviewed nobody for that. I went down to talk to Desi and John Keane below in John Keane's father's house. So that was really what that involved. I was looking forward then to working for quite a long time with Dermot McCabe. Some people will know, some people won't know. Strange coincidence, Dermot's wife is actually from the same parish as myself, down in that lovely of County Clare. I didn't know that till he was 2 months into the job and that. But Dermot, he'd be a rogue now, a pure rogue, but he'd be a really, really decent, good fella. And I think we have got a bigger rogue in that way, smaller in stature, but he's definitely a bigger rogue in Mark McHugh. I'm looking forward to Mark. I think he'll be really, really good for us. He's so committed to it, so full of enthusiasm, still playing with his club, still very active, and he has a really, really good team with him. So I think he'll be good for Westmeath.
And Frank, your highlights over the 5 years, we'll say, on the inter-county scene, because I know you're not really fair to mention clubs and that, but over the 5 years with the county team, Tolton Cup, McDonagh Cups, we got one of each in your tenure. The Tolton Cup in your highlight?
Yeah, the Tolton Cup would be, I suppose, the fact that we were the first county to win it, and, we had a homecoming. I don't think the other counties had that. Well, they certainly didn't have it to the same extent that we had. With Tolton Cup, I would have said it the night below in front of the Gravel Arms, it's the cup that you probably want to win once, really being truthful. I would say the same with junior club. You want to win it once. I come from a club who love to win the junior, and they might go for the intermediate, now and again. but they never can kind of build themselves up to go for the senior, and which I think is a pity. Talton Cup is great. It was a highlight. Fantastic games in that year, but you go for that once and you move on from it. You aspire for better. And I think our lads are in the position now where they can do better and they will aspire for better. Sam Maguire, the Delaney Cup in Leinster, they're the cups we need to be looking at.
And finally, Frank, we will move on to the 6-mark question. Where would you like to see Westmeath GA in 5 years' time?
That's a typical interview question, and an interview question that I would never have given any candidate, but it's one that I hate. 5 years' time, I suppose off the pitch, the centre of excellence would be up and running. What stage it will be at, I don't know. In the last couple of weeks, we have seen plans for buildings and all that, the first time we've seen them. So that's progressing. I would hope that we would have a couple of pitches in operation. We may be looking at now of building a gym almost immediately there. A lot of people here won't realise a lot of work has had to go into getting a gym for our senior footballers, senior hurlers, 20s, minors. A really, really difficult job going out begging for a gym. We'll be out begging for pitches. That will be a huge achievement. I suppose on the pitch, I would hope that we would be competing for Sam Maguire and Lee McCarthy in the hurling. I'd be hoping we'd be competing at that level, not kind of a yo-yo up and down. I think we have the players to compete. Are we capable of winning that? Maybe not just yet, but to compete at that level, get a Leinster Championship under our belt. We only have one, and I think that's a realistic goal to get that Delaney Cup back to Westmeath again.
And that's our County Board Chairman, Frank Mescal. Frank, and they'll leave you in peace now for the rest of the night. You have a busy 2 weekends coming ahead, and hopefully you'll be presenting a lot of trophies over the next 2 weekends. We have a couple of other guests up here in the crowd that will be coming to at various stages. Kevin Dolan from Maryland. Kevin is a man now that he's well renowned for losing things, but we won't say any more about that now, Kevin. And I'm going to come up onto the stage now and I'm going to introduce these motley crew I have here beside me, but you all probably know who they are. Starting with Alan Mangan here close to me, and we want to thank Alan for joining us tonight because, as you're aware, he's getting ready for a senior hurling replay on Monday night. But Alan gave the commitment. He's been a good friend to the podcast all year, so he committed to come in and kept to his word. So thanks, Alan, taking you away from the job in hand. Dennis Glennon, you're all aware of. So these two guys, teammates in 2004, of course. The man with the most medals on the stage, Shane Donoghue. You all know him as well. It's controversial to the last, but that's what we want. Give an opinion, stand by it, have the crack. And the very far end, you all know Damien Maher as well, sports editor with Westmeath Examiner. So lads, you're all very welcome here. We're going to start on talking about the Junior 2 final coming up now. I'm not sure how much knowledge anyone has. Dennis would probably have a little bit of inside knowledge in regards to Terrace Pass, lads. Terrace Pass and St. Paul's. Dennis, I'm going to use the old chestnut. I think everyone except Terrace Pass would like to see Paul's as the sole junior team going ahead and winning this. I know you won't agree with that, but Terrace Pass, I'm sure, have been putting in a big effort into this junior final as well.
Yeah, it's been massive for Terrace Pass because even when we were knocked out of the championship, we're still all in the one WhatsApp group, and every Sunday we've been getting the same WhatsApp messages. We need lads down, we're playing in a final, and there's a big push on in Westmeath to try and achieve something. A lot of the lads in the Terrace Pass junior team, in fairness, have been playing with the seniors, so they've a good bit of experience, and there's some very good footballers there.
2 semi-finals, St. Paul's 3-10, Gary Castle 2-10 after extra time. And the other one, your game, Dennis, Terrace Pass 19, Tuberclare 2-9. And again, Tuberclare lads, some of them here tonight, I'm sure they would like to be going for a double over the next 2 weeks. But look, it wasn't to be. Shane, have you seen much of the Junior 2 competition this year?
Oh,
No.
I'll be completely honest, as I always am, Ray. I saw none of it. I think, no, I saw none of it. I've seen both teams over the last couple of years, and Terrace Pass entering it this year has been good for them. I think there's a building going on out there in terms of trying to progress and stay senior, and it's a real good platform. St. Paul's got relegated last year, and they'll be looking to bounce back up. But I haven't seen it. But what I will say about, I think it's a fantastic competition. That we have 4 tiers of championship in Westmeath that is played at the same time during the summer months when we should be playing championship. And I've spoken to my own club about the idea that we've young lads coming out of minor that won't be ready to play intermediate. Unfortunately, we're still intermediate, but I think it's between the under 20 and the junior 2, you can really cater for clubs that are building and trying to get squads. Clare are a really good example of that entering it this year. They've really big numbers training, and it's football for everybody, and it's competitive championship football. Sentiment would suggest that you'd like the junior club, the sole club, but I think at the same time Terrace Pass would look at it as some of these lads are operating at that level because that's how good they are. But they've given everything to their club since they came out of underage. So I wouldn't begrudge anyone a medal in that championship final next Saturday in Cusack Park. I think it's a properly run championship with the proper structures, full referees, linesmen, umpires, the whole lot. And you don't necessarily get that at all levels. And it's a chance to focus and train together. So yeah, it's a final that I look forward to going in and watching. It has been good over the years. Kindergarten and a county senior final this year, and they've won that competition. So it always bodes well for what comes out of it.
Damien, I don't know if in your role as a reporter, have you seen much of the Junior 2 Championship this year?
No, actually we haven't. Our focus was primarily on the Junior 1, and the fact, I suppose, that they all kind of clashed at the weekends. There could be 16 or 18 championship matches, so between manpower, resources, space and everything else, unfortunately the Junior 2 is a competition that probably wouldn't have been covered in the local press. But just in the build up to the final, we did meet with the clubs a great night in Cusack Park for a few hours, and spoke to 2 people from each club, and you could get a sense how much it means to them. The Terrace Pass one was interesting. Brian Slevin, a former senior captain, and he spoke of the importance of blooding new players. They had Cormac Monaghan in that night with them as well, speaking from a player's perspective. And they have Adrian Corcoran, a former senior player, as their manager. So they're obviously taking it very seriously, and they'll be difficult to beat. St. Paul's, they beat Colliery and Garrycastle, 2 big games for them. And Kenny Higgins, player manager.
I think he came on in the semi-final, got a goal in it, I think, as well.
That's right. He came on and scored a winning goal. And he spoke of the fact that they had played Garrycastle, a tough test, and no less than Desi Dolan, kind of part of the Garrycastle panel. So Garrycastle were taking it serious too. So St. Paul's, certainly they'll be very, very anxious to win it. They were relegated last year from Junior 1. They quite rightly feel that they belong as a proper junior club. Obviously they're a dual club as well. They're battling on that front. And they recovered very well from a bit of a shaky start to the year, they told me. So they're going to be up for the final. It looks like it's going to be a difficult match to call, a close match, and perhaps Terrace Pass, with the greater number of players, greater number of younger players especially, they might be the team to watch in that.
Alan, just coming to you quickly on the Junior 2, more on the setup then. You were involved obviously with Castleton. You have a second string, and you're blooding young lads through that, and getting lads maybe on the way down. So this Junior 2 competition, instead of say bringing in a Senior B competition, this Junior 2 has really been a big success, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as you said, it's all about blooding players and trying to integrate them into the senior team over the next couple of years. That's what Terrace Pass will be looking for. And also lads that are just unfortunately not quite at the standard of senior level and coming back down. Like you mentioned, Brian Slevin. Brian Slevin was captain Terrace Pass in county final only a a few years ago. So they're going to come with lots of experience, but a lot of youth and exuberance as well. But at the same time, you're probably looking at the weather is changing over the last number of weeks, and you're looking for the old dog for the hard road, and that's what St. Paul's are going to have. Brownstown have gone out with the championship. It's going to be a massive help to them, so they can solely concentrate. There might as well be a dual club, and they can solely concentrate on the football. And obviously a really good win over Gary Castle, because Gary Castle had built a bit of momentum over the last couple of years between winning intermediate and getting to the quarter final of the senior, and been unlucky really not to contest in semi-final. So them lads have been training at high levels, and St. Paul's obviously got over them in semi-final. But looking forward to a cracking game. But you'd like to see, I think, as you said earlier, apart from Denis here in the panel, you'd love to see the Seoul Junior Club coming back. Look at Ballagore did last year after winning Junior 2 last year, and where they're after ending up already this year. So it'd be nice to see them win it.
Yeah, and it's a competition that, last year I think it ended up being very disjointed to make one group out of the whole lot. But this year, all teams, competing and fulfilling all fixtures, and it has led to a good final now as well. That final is not on this weekend; it's on Saturday the 1st. Terrace Pass and St. Paul's Junior 2 final, sponsored by Clark's Bar, our host here for tonight. Moving on, lads. There's a lot of interest in this Junior 1 final, I tell you. If this game was played up in this bar here tonight, I think St. Joseph's would definitely win it anyway. Junior 1 final, St. Joseph's and Ballagore. Again, this one not this weekend either, coming up on the Sunday the 2nd November. It's a local derby. We all know the geography, we know the history in both clubs. St. Joseph's beaten last year in the final, probably felt that they let themselves down a little bit in it. Ballagore won Junior 2, and we see the benefit to them coming now into a final. Denis, this has the makings of a cracking match.
It's a massive game, and for me it's kind of a tricky one, because one of my best friends is a Ballagore man, Enda Kenny. At the same time, my wife she's a Streamstown lady, and she would be
one of my best friends.
one of Shane's best friends. She would we had a discussion earlier about that. She'd be very vocal and very fond of the team that lives up the road from their home place, and I'd have a little bit of allegiance towards them, and I'd be kind of hoping that Streamstown would get over the line, unfortunately for my good friend Ender Kenny. But it's a massive game for both teams, and I think both teams have had a good year and put a huge effort in. It's Streamstown are kind of up against it, I think, a small bit, because Tommy McDaniels is back for Ballagore, and Tommy McDaniels is a top footballer, playing up in the Dublin Senior Championship and standing out up in the Dublin Senior Championship. So he'll be taking an awful lot of marking, but at the same time, I'm hopeful that Streamstown could put up a good challenge for them, because I have allegiance towards them at this stage.
Shane, what do you reckon? You have a smirk on your face there. What do you, I know we've spoken on the podcast all through the year about the Tommy McDaniels factor, but I'm sure the lads from Milton or from St. Joseph's, they have come up against them already. So, there'll be nothing new to them now when they come into this final.
Look, this St. Joseph's team be coming for a while, Ray. I probably think they're a little bit behind the curve. If you look at their league performances over the last 3 or 4 years, they got promoted back-to-back 3 years in a row in the league, and a young side. I think last year really stand to them. Really difficult weather conditions last year, and a couple of goals against them took them out of the game very early. I watched these two teams play in Castletown. Fairness, Castletown, a brilliant venue for championships this year, it must be said. They hosted a couple of rounds of fixtures, and on the balance of the game, apart from a couple of really outstanding frees from Tommy McDaniel, on the balance, Joseph's were the better team that day. And you often learn a little bit more by losing. County finals at this level have always been so entertaining, because there's so much on the line. Both these sides would really feel that if they can get the intermediate, they can consolidate and last at least a year in intermediate and get themselves settled. I think when you look at the two managers, you've Nachi, Michael Ennis over Ballagore, and that, without Tommy McDaniels, obviously Tommy's excellent, but Nachi's the reason that they're there. and actually the respect that's held for him out there, the panel that he's built, there's guys that haven't put on boots in a couple of years come back and they're playing. They really are driving to build out there, and they'll want to scupper St. Joseph's. At the same time, St. Joseph's remind me a little bit like Tuberclare, who are now in the intermediate final. Tuberclare did something similar with underage progression, development, and building a squad. It's really, really difficult to call. There's quality on both teams. Like I said, I think both teams would really fancy their chances of looking after themselves in the bottom end of intermediate next year, and it's going to be a really, really good contest. There's going to be very, very little in it. It might be the Tommy McDaniels or the Brandon Carey that might make the difference, but then there's a guy that Alan's very familiar with, and he has a very busy weekend in, is it Dean Slevin that hurls with you? I just think he's a great young man. He's physically a big presence. He's a very quality footballer. He's obviously a very good hurler. He played senior hurling championship, and it's going to go on the smallest of things. And I have no idea what the weather's predicting for next weekend, but I think it's going to be a cracking game, and everybody should try and get out and watch it.
Damien, I've said in the various podcasts through the year that this junior championship is a quality championship. Again, sponsored by Clark Sparrow. I see Kieran ducking in and out there, so we better give him another shout out. But it's almost like a double championship. The second teams go in on one side of it, and then the sole junior teams on the other side. And in the two semi-finals, we end up with both teams 1 and 2 in the junior side and 1 and 2 in the second string side. St. Joseph's 2-8, Mullingar Shamrocks 1-10, 1 point. Ballinagore 24 points, St. Lomans 4-10, 2 points after extra time. So I mean, there's going to be very, very little between these two teams.
Yeah, and I suppose it's gas. Ballinagore should be out at this stage. Should have been beaten by St. Lomans, who were 2 points ahead in that semi-final and had a penalty. And for some reason, they went for a goal. They didn't need to go for a goal. If they kicked that ball over the bar, Ballinagore were out. But Ballinagore attacked from the save by Cathal Daly. They attacked, and Tommy McDaniel stood up and scored a 2-pointer to take the game to extra time. They won. Now, if you look at their scoring power, 24 points in that final, that might just indicate that perhaps they have a little bit more in hand here heading into the final. But St. Joseph's have the experience of last year. And sometimes you have to lose one before you win one. It was a difficult day for them last year against a very experienced and physically stronger Finney side. That's what won the match. And I think that experience, that hurt and that experience is going to stand to them, and they're going to come and give a huge performance, and they'll be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, Alan, I know it's very hard to ask you to predict this game because, as Shane said, you have lads from both clubs playing hurling with you, and you're obviously originally a Ballinagore man, if I'm not mistaken. And this to me, of all the games over the weekends, I think this is the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most.
Yeah, listen, there's going to be nothing between these two teams. I saw them playing out in Castown in was it the first or second round of the championship when they played, and to be honest, the Shane's already after alluding to it, it's Streamstown will be kicking themselves that they didn't come away with a win there. But listen, if they're going to go into a final, they're through to the final now regardless, so it might be the best way to go in where you're after losing and give you the extra bit of motivation going into it and making sure that you get the win. But at the same time, like Castown, we have 3 young fellas playing for Streamstown. We've Alan Conlon, we've Andy Conway and Dean Slevin, 3 brilliant young men. Never shy away from hard sessions, never shy away from a tackle. They're always getting involved. It's hard to juggle both, especially it's a bit easier for Malachy's and Castown because you're the one club more or less, but it's harder for these lads. But no messing with them, they'll always show up, they'll always put their shoulder to the wheel. And then we also have Philip Reynolds playing for Ballinagore, and we Brandon Kerry a couple of years ago playing with. So we've sort of foot in both camps. In saying that, Thomas McDaniels is back from playing senior club football up in Castleknock, and that's going to be a serious asset to Ballagore going into a final. I know Ballagore, people are saying Streamstown got beaten, but Ballagore won the county final last year in Tier 2 or Junior 2, and it's listen, there's going to be nothing in this. There was nothing in it in Castdown, only ball given away in the last minute, and Tommy McDaniel scored a 2-pointer to win it. And then if you look at the scoring power, I know Damien's after alluding that Ballagore should have been knocked out, but Ballagore scored 24 points, scored 24 times. Loma's only scored 14 times. That would tell you that the team that scored 24 points deserved to win this. I know he's saying about the penalty being missed, but there's going to be nothing in this game. It's going to be a cracker. I'm going to sit in the fence.
There's a surprise.
Like Shane normally does. I'll sit in the fence. And
no room, but
come here, I think we have some representative from St. Joseph's up there. Have we a mic up at the far end there yet? Aidan Walsh, are you doing the talking? Did someone tell me? Come on, Aidan, keep the flag flying. At this stage, Aidan, you must be sick of us on the podcast talking about Tommy McDaniels.
Oh, not a bit. I mean, everything you said about Tommy is true. I mean, he is a class act. Everyone knows that. I mean, he's given great service to Westmeath, and then obviously with Ballagore on to Castleknock and back to Ballagore again. So, look, you couldn't but praise him. And he's going to take some handling in the junior final. So, look, we're well up for it. As you've alluded to, we were in the final last year. It didn't go as well as we would have expected. Dreadful day, but you can't blame the weather for performance. You know, it's we'll see how it goes. I mean, the two teams are very evenly matched. I mean, the game in Castletown back 2 months ago at this stage was nip and tuck the whole way, and it basically was just a case of whoever got a break near the finish was going to win it. In fact, it probably should have ended up a draw. There was a bit of a melee out in front of the stand at the very end, 2 minutes into injury time, which probably should have been ended the game, but a late point swung it the other way. But sure, look, we'll see. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight.
Yeah, it must be getting exciting out there now at this stage. I know you still have another week to go there, but you know, I think this is a very intriguing game because Ballagore, coming back, say, from Junior 2, won a final last year. Eby's obviously playing at a higher standard last year. Last year, Junior won the final. But I'm sure there's been plenty of lessons taken from that game. That, you know, the weather, whatever else you talk about. But Alan, I think, said that sometimes you need to lose one to win one. Now, that isn't always true because there's no sentiment in sport. But at the same time, I'm sure you've really knuckled down in a couple of weeks. And you'll have had over 3 weeks now to get ready for this final.
Yeah, it's true, Ray. I mean, like, it often helps a team in a strange way to lose a final, being able to bounce back the following year. It's something we never done before. I mean, we have reached finals back in the early 2000s where we went every second year, 2000, 02, 04. So we lost 2 at that stage before we won one. We're hoping and that it won't happen this time, that second time out we will get over the line this time. But again, like your panellists there, it's going to be hard to call. We know our strengths. We know Ballinagor's strengths, but so vice versa. They know us inside out. I mean, there's only 4 miles between both pitches. It meet halfway down at around Ballard, which is between Kilbeggan, Streamstown and Ballingagore. We were joking a couple of weeks back we might have needed a border post with Kilbeggan to maybe man it, but that wouldn't probably have worked out too well. But anyway, for all of us. But look, we're all close together and it will be interesting. How good a final it will be, God knows. It could be the lowest scoring game of the year, or it could be a cracking end-to-end encounter. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be somewhere in between. And there's probably one thing that you haven't touched on. Both sides are coming at it probably with slightly different trajectories in ways too. I mean, you have Ballingagore, who are probably the high-scoring team in the championship, against St. Joseph's, who have the lowest concession rate. So something has to give on the day, God knows. So it'll be very, 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 very tight.
Yeah, we'll probably have a 7-6 game now, but that's but
one point to nil will do fine if we're the right side of it.
You'll take that. It was interesting talking to both captains. In Damien in Cusack Park, I spoke to the captains of it, and I think it was Andy Conway and Robbie Keegan, and like they all went to school in Kilbeggan. They all played football with each other in Kilbeggan, and now a couple of years later they're all just going to peel back. They've gone to their own clubs, and I think this will be a humdinger of a match. I think the rivalry will come out in the nicest kind of a way, obviously. But I think this one, I'd say now, you know, Pat O'Brien said last week, what does Paddy Power know about Westmeath hurling? Now, I wouldn't like to be Paddy Power making a call on who's going to win this one.
Well, definitely not. I'm certainly not putting a bet on it anyway, because my record with bets is very, very poor, so no way. Look, we'll be there for it, so will Ballinagore. We'll see what happens. It's over a week away yet, so who knows what will happen by that stage.
Exactly. Go on, Alan.
It has to be said, like, they're two great clubs. Like, if you think about it, you have Streamstown, Malachy's, Rosemount, Ballinagore, Kilbeggan in a very small area. Like, there's 5 clubs there in an extremely small area. So for two clubs like them to be battling against the odds with lads playing, could easily slip off and play with other clubs and so forth. They're two great clubs and plenty of players. I saw Ballinagore had the guts of 25 to 30 lads togged out, and so Streamstown. So it's credit to them lads in the background as well.
Yeah, well, look, we'll come to you guys in the panel here now for our predictions. Kevin Dolan is up there from Maryland. Kevin, selector and chairman, I think, with Maryland this year. Kevin, you're well used to local derbies down your neck of the woods as well, but this will just have a little bit extra to it now going into this final.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, to be honest, looking at the two junior finals, I'd be personally sort of one of the lads for and this is no disrespect to any of them, the smaller club side of the thing, where the sole junior teams are here. And it was very important for me for the semi-finals to see that obviously St. Joseph's and Ballinagore got through. Personally, I don't think there'd be very little in it. I know the whole time McDaniel's factor is great, and naturally he's doing a great job at Ballinagore, but I do see, I would probably have a slight favour for St. Joseph's. We're joined with the Mescal Gales underage, where we're trying to keep the thing going between ourselves and Maryland Tang, and they came along with us. But the likes of Dylan Drake, who probably hasn't been mentioned, the young lad coming through, like, they are really pushing things on over there. They're driving a new pitch and everything, and I just think that I would be hoping in my own head that the Joseph might get through over the weekend. And again, I wouldn't begrudge the likes of Ballinagore either. But if it was to be put me head in the block, I would be saying St. Joseph's I would be hoping for, even though some of the lads are on says, please don't mention us, just say it's going to be Ballinagore. I don't think it's going to be either way from my side of it, but if I was going to be saying who I wanted to win, it definitely would be St. Joseph's.
I'm going to have to say I forgot Dylan Drake. Dylan Drake actually plays as well, a great young fella, only first year up, and they're the type of lads that you need breaking into a side. So Dylan's another great young fella, never misses anything for us, and I'm pretty sure the same for Streamstown. Well,
look, going back, I'll go start with you, Damien, down the far end. Junior 1 final, Joseph's or Ballinagore?
Ballinagore.
Shane Donoghue?
Joseph's to get over the line.
Denis?
I love Nachi, I love Enda Kenny, I love Tommy McDaniels, but I love my wife more, so I'm going to go St. Joseph's.
No, Alan, you can...
I'm just going to make it 2-2 Ballinagore and just hope it's won in penalties, 1-0.
Well, look, lads, that's the Clarksbar Junior 1 final. That's fixed for Sunday the 2nd of November, so it's one definitely we'll be looking forward to with great anticipation, and hopefully we get the game that the championship deserves. Moving on, lads, we're going to look now at the intermediate final. This coming up tomorrow. So there's a lot of lads at home now with nerves and everything else getting ready for this one. Tubberclare and Shandona. Standalone game this year, Alan. We say always about this intermediate championship that it's so hard at the beginning of the championship to predict the winners. Well, here we are with the last two, and I'm not going to predict them either. I don't know whether you're able to.
No, listen, it's credit where credit's due. Both teams won their semi-finals, and deservedly so. I thought both teams were outstanding in semi-final. Thought Tubberclare just brought a little bit of something different to the semi-final. They brought a bit of pace and enthusiasm to the game. I thought Matty Whittaker was absolutely outstanding. I know he's only just back from injury and only played a couple of games in Championship, but it just goes to show how different a team they are with him playing. He just adds so much in both attack and defence, and he's like, if you're probably picking a player of the year with Westmeath this year, apart from Luke Loughlin, you're looking at Matty Whittaker is right up there with Sam McCartan the way he's been playing. So he was absolutely outstanding. And then I suppose Shandona, if you look at the scoreline of the semi-final, I don't think it did justice to how good Shandona actually were. I thought in the first half of that game against Milltown, they were absolutely outstanding. Obviously a bit of a skirmish
God bless it, don't mention that.
Milltown back into it, but at the same time I thought both teams were very, very good in the semi-final. Probably Tuberclare are probably a lot more balanced team, but a lot of these Shandon lads have been there and done it. They've won the championship, and that's something that has eluded Tuberclare over the last number of years. So listen, at the end of the day, Tuberclare got a monkey off their back by winning the semi-final, but I have to say 2 cracking semi-finals, and really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, and anyone that needs a little reminding, Tuberclare 3-12, Milltown Pass 1-10. Sure, you didn't need reminding that one, Shane Donoghue. And Shandona 2-16, Milltown 1-16. Denis, we'll stay on Tuberclare first of all. They were very impressive in that semi-final, and as Alan said, picked out Matty Whittaker, but you know, Tuberclare not a one-man team either.
No, they're a fabulous team, and in fairness to them, it's not just Whittaker. In fairness to him, like, he's a terrific footballer, but they have a very young team, and every one of them are stepping up to the table, and they're like a team that's coming, and you believe that if they did get over the line, they're a team that could cause an awful lot of trouble for senior teams in the future. At the same time, you have to look at Shandon and look at the team that's there. They've been there, they've done it, they've great experience, but they also have great youth. If you look at their captain, it's Daniel Scahill, fabulous young player on the inter-county setup. I think his dad is the experience. His dad is the sub-goalie, Dale Scahill. He's on the panel as well. So they have the experience. They've lads that have been involved with that team, and they have Ray Sheridan involved. And I know from being involved with Terrace Pass with Ray, they have a manager that's very professional, does things by the book. You know, he's brought them. You know, probably they need a new voice. In fairness to Kevin Hickey, he's done a great job with Shandon, but they needed a new voice, and they've got that with Ray, and Ray's done a terrific job with them. So they'll be well up for this game, and I think there'll be very little in it. I think Tuberclare probably would be favourites going into it, because they have that kind of star power in the likes of Whittaker and that. But at the same time, Shandona have some fabulous footballers. You think of TikTok, he's come in there. Tic-tac, I call him TikTok. But a fabulous footballer. I think Shandona have some very good young players coming through. My young lad plays for Shandona. I'm hoping, sorry Jerry Walker, I know I seen him there somewhere. I'm hoping Shandona get over the line, because that's the club I'm invested in at the moment. But at the same time, I think there's great potential in that Tuberclare team coming forward.
Shane, I stood with you at the semi-final, that game with Tuberclare and Milltown Pass, and Tuberclare were very, very impressive, it has to be said.
Oh, indeed, and they've been impressive over the last number of years, Ray. Fabulously balanced side, big physical side, they're very fit, they're educated footballers, that's what I see in them. You know, you can tug out a lot of big men, and if they don't have the IQ or the fundamentals, they're not much good to you, but Tuberclare have that in abundance. But they're coming up against a team that's equally got it and have done it. It's a game, we say it all the time, but it's not a cliche. You can't predict an intermediate final in Westmeath. It's going to sway on the smallest of things. The age profile of both teams is interesting. There's a little bit more experience on the Shandona side. Obviously, they've had a couple of wins, a couple of stints in senior, and they're looking to bounce straight back up. But equally, this Tuberclare side have quite a lot of experience of big days in Cusick Park with crowds building during their minor finals in recent years. They are young, but splattered with some good experience, and they're led from behind at the back with a friend of ours, Kevin Fagan. I think he's been excellent all year. You've Cathal Tighe, a guy that I don't think he played last year with an injury, was involved in coaching with them. He's back in there. It's just going to be the proper end of intermediate football. They're definitely the two best teams that were in it, the two best coached sides, the most balanced sides, and I think the two sides, apart from Brandon Kelly on our own team, with the real sprinkling of quality in that intermediate championship, and don't ask me how it's going to go.
No, I'll wait for later on, Shane. You're all right. Take your time. You can think about it for another little while. Damien, these two sides met in the last round of the group stages, and you know Ray Sheridan won't need a reminder, any of the Shandona sports won't need a reminder how that one went. But I would expect that that game will bear no relevance come tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
No, and it was interesting. Before that game, I was speaking to Tom Malloy, and he was just saying about, you know, Shandona were going very well in the group, and Tuberclare had lost the game at that stage. And Tom was just making the point that you're going to lose a game in the group, and you're going to learn from it. And lo and behold, Shandona went on to play Tuberclare in the last round. Didn't mean a whole lot, but Tuberclare won it, and won it very convincingly. Can you read a whole lot into that? Maybe not. I think they're two very progressive clubs, great structures in place. When I was working for the GA for a year, just over a year, I was involved with Tuberclare, and it was such an easy job because you go to the school on a Friday, you do your coaching there, and when you had to go to the club to meet them, you didn't have much to do because everybody knew what they were doing. Their coaching structure was superb. All their coaches were top class. Shandona, likewise, you go out to Kilpatrick National School, again, it's close to the pitch. People from the club coming in, coaching the youth. I met a guy called Glennon actually out there. He's now involved with Shandona, so they have people like that, quality people like that. And I mean, look at the facilities both clubs have. So two very progressive clubs, both entitled to be senior. Unfortunately, only one of them can make the climb. But I think this is going to be possibly the best final out of them all.
Yeah, exactly. And just, you know, I think it was Denis alluded to Ray Sheridan managing, but Tuberclare brought in new manager, joint managers this year now. We spoke to them inside in Cusick Park, and you know, Keith Higgins coming in along with Danny Salmon. I think Danny was there last year, but just an extra voice and address someone. Sometimes, yeah, that little change can work for a team.
Yeah, and it's probably what Tuberclare needed was someone to come in from outside to set up, whereas just doesn't really know, doesn't have any, like, we all have our own favourites in every club. Like, you're no different than I am. And a couple of players that you think the world of, other lads mightn't. So Tuberclare probably needed someone from outside just to come in and maybe hammer home a few home truths to some lads that maybe it was very hard to do from a local point of view in terms of Danny Salmon. But you'd have to say that these two clubs, apart from maybe if you look at the Downs and maybe Shamrocks and Lomans, these two clubs are probably the best underage structures for the last 8, 9, 10 years. They have just progressed every year. Like I don't know how many minor finals Tuberclare have played in a row. Is it 2 or 3 anyway? But they, in terms of the balance of the team with Tuberclare and Shandona, there's a lot of youth, but there's also experience. But you just need these younger players breaking through, and that's credit to all the underage coaches in both these clubs because they're extremely strong. I think both management teams have done a great job with both these clubs because, like, Tuberclare had to get across. I think they've played in a few semi-finals and just didn't get to the final, and now they have, and now that's a bit of a duck off their back. But also, it's hard to go down from senior and just get a team back up straight away up to and Ray Sheridan has done that with these lads. He's got them back in the money. A couple of hairy games earlier on in the year, but they got across the line in them. And then I think the last game against Tuberclare, that's immaterial. I think both teams were through. It made no odds to either team, and obviously Clare went with the right attitude, and maybe Shandona didn't have the right attitude going into that game, but I'm pretty sure that'll change tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go to Brendan Shaw down in the audience there as well before we come to somebody from both clubs. Brendan, since you stepped down as County Board Secretary, you've been in and around the park more often, you've got to see those games. This really has the makings of a huge game tomorrow.
Yeah, I was in attendance at both semi-finals, and I have to say I was very impressed with the quality of both teams. The skill levels of both teams are very high, and they both embraced the new rules really well. The transition from defence to attack is very quick on both sides, and you know you've marquee players on both sides, Danny Scahill and Tom Malloy on Shandon, and then you have Owen McCabe and Matty Whittaker on the Tubber Clare slide. The bookies have this game very, very tight. They have Shandon as slight favourites, possibly because maybe they're coming back from senior last year. I couldn't disagree with that. You know, Shandona haven't, and they would admit themselves, the best record in semi-finals and finals over the last number of years. So I'm sure they'll be determined to, you know, get that monkey off their back tomorrow as well. So very, very difficult to predict an outcome here, but I think we're in for a real quality final tomorrow.
Grand job done. I think with Niall O'Brien from Shandon. Is Niall going to speak to us there? Just give him the mic. Niall, 12 months ago it was heartbreak for you. You know, you won your last group game to go into a playoff and beaten in that playoff by 1 point. And as Alan said, it must have been a difficult place, you know, last January, December, January, to face into a new year and try and get back to where you had been.
Yeah, no, that's a fair enough commentary. I suppose, regardless what status you are to be regraded, it's kind of a kick and a year. But I suppose it gave us a chance kind of to reboot, to go back to beginnings and start again. And as was alluded to earlier, Kevin Hickey had done Trojan work, which I've known down through the years. And Ray came in there this year, and I suppose a fresh voice, maybe a new approach. And I suppose, look at the start of the year, we said, where do we want to go? Yeah, we want to get to an intermediate final. And we're here, a bit like Christmas Eve tonight, you know, we're nervous, excitement about the game tomorrow, and I suppose that's where we want to be.
Yeah, exactly, and a lot of talent on show from both sides as well, and hopefully all those players will get a chance to express themselves tomorrow. The weather stays half decent, and we do have a cracking game of football.
Yeah, look, I suppose both teams, and we would hope for a dry day, the same as Tubber Clare would. We're under no illusions as to what we face tomorrow. Tubber Clare, they've been there in minor finals, they're in 20s this year, the junior semi-finals. So we know we're at facing a club that's developing on and off the field, and they're a very, very strong club and a great club. And I do think tomorrow, all things going well, both teams play to their potential. It should be a cracking game. You
know, that's what we all hope for. Who's going to talk to me from Tubber Clare? Jerry, you taking it there as well? Yeah. No better man, Jerry Walker. Jerry, we you know, it's easy to talk about Tubber Clare and talk about Matty Whittaker and Owen McCabe, but there's a lot of other talent on that side as well.
Yes, I suppose to be fair, it's a team this year, whereas other years we did have lads who were leading the line, but this year with the joint management and joined up thinking, that we have developed into a good team. Now we also know that Shandona, having come down, are very, very strong, you know, and they're not a bad team either. We found that out a couple of years ago when we had the game there for the taking the first day, and they learned so much for the second day. This year, the game, last game in the league series, was a non-event. And I would read absolutely nothing into that. And I'm sure Tubber Clare have learned, but definitely Shandona have learned as well. And tomorrow is going to be just two teams going out to battle. And I hope that a good game's football is enjoyed by the crowd, and that they entertain one another and give of their best. I've just looked at something here that said, bad decisions make better stories, and I'm sure Damien will be looking for a headline on Monday. But I hope that isn't the case tomorrow. It's not a bad decision. It's not a slip by someone that causes one or the other teams to lift the trophy. But having said all of that, there's another little sign here that says, a little party never killed. And look, I'm Tubber Clare through and through. Party tomorrow night in the Village of the Roses on the shores of Lochry will be lovely, and we'd enjoy it. But that's not going to change from 60 minutes of hard, honest football and a commitment. And just to remind Dennis that a number of years ago, he was very lucky that he had a Tubber Clare man and a Shandona man in Nedzer minding him and making life easy for him in Tullamore.
Kevin Dolan, take that mic there from me for a second. You've been involved in the Intermediate Championship this year, but I think it's fair to say we have the two best teams in the final tomorrow.
Pat O'Brien was listening to the hurling podcast, and he was on about Paddy Power, the great Paddy Power, but I don't know how anyone would make anyone favourites tomorrow, because I think they're, like, I suppose the start of the year, if you're calling it, you wouldn't have been a hero to say either team was going to be in the final. There were the form teams coming down from senior, Tubber Clare, the team that were coming through. It's definitely one I wouldn't like to be putting a lot of money on either side. Like Tubber Clare, there's one thing about the likes of we name players and we do this in and out about the likes of even the junior, even the likes of Matty, like Matty Whittaker. I remember saying to him last year, he was involved with us in the college in Sigerson, and it was just something that he said to me that I always remember, and I do. He says, I'm not the best footballer in Tubber Clare, but I put in a lot of work. And he has built himself up to be the player that he is now, and he deserves every bit of it. I understand there's players on both sides that could say that, but definitely it was one thing that stuck with me for Matty. And of course, I will probably have favourites. I would obviously, if South West Meath, it'd be great to see Tubber Clare doing it, but I think there will be absolutely nothing in it. I think it's great for the game in Westmeath. Like Intermediate has been known for years that it's a tough place to get out of, and either side will represent themselves very well in senior. There'll be a lot of teams hoping that the two of them could nearly go up to make Intermediate maybe easier the following year. But looking forward to a good game, and as one thing Jerry's ever saying, hopefully it's not a mistake or something stupid that defines it. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely one of the games after the weekend. I think the two teams are well matched, and it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, well, I think in fairness, Kevin, we got rid of all the stupidity in the semi-final, so it'll be nothing like that now tomorrow. And then some of the matchups coming up tomorrow, like how will the Shandona look at Matty Whittaker? Will they try and maybe put Denis Cahill up forward? Because Matty runs forward a lot of time. He starts at wing back. Middle of the field is a huge battle there for Shandona with Owen McCabe. Owen McCabe is an experienced inter-county footballer now. So, there is some intriguing battles in store for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'm not got to do with either team, but I would say if I was trying to pick a team or put my matchups, I think Aaron Craig would probably suit Owen McCabe, and see could a break 50-50 in that battle for either side. And I'd say the other matchup would be trying to put someone on Matty Whittaker to curb his influence on the game. I love that statement that Kevin's after coming out with there, and it's exactly what you want from any county player. Talent is not enough. You have to work your ass off to make sure that you get to be the very best that you can possibly be. We've all done it, we've all tried to do it, but he epitomises it at the minute in terms of the way he plays and the way he looks after himself and his work rate and everything, and what he's turned himself into. But lots of players in both clubs are the same. Like if you look, like I think Tom Malloy he's their joint top scorer for Shandona this year, and I think he's played very, very little in terms of minutes. So it just goes to show how good he can possibly be. And you've Denis Cahill and an awful lot of other lads. You could stay here all night naming lads, but it's going to come down to which management team gets their matchups best. That's what it's going to very, very fine margins. If you can get them margins right, it's a long, long way towards winning the match. But if you get them wrong, it could be drastic.
Yeah, and another player who, and I think it'll be a factor tomorrow, is 2-pointers. 2-pointers are big now in the modern game, and Owen McCabe can kick frees and he can kick them from play as well. again, it'll be a game of very tight margins, so that can be crucial as well, Dennis.
Yeah, look, two-pointers have taken over the game of GAA, and they've been very important. At the same time, it's a county final, and there's an awful lot of pressure on the player that's kicking them frees or them kind of scores and that. So there's a lot of pressure on them lads. I wouldn't pay too much heed to that. What I'd say is, Budda hit the nail on the head there. You have the two clubs, and you talked about the game previous as the game you were most excited about watching. For me, you have the two clubs that are doing everything right at underage level. I think someone said Aidan Lennon's involved there. Aidan Lennon's involved with the underage team with my young fella. So you have a Leinster winning footballer involved with training an underage team in Shandona. You can look, I've heard nothing but good things about Tubberclare and their underage and the footballers coming through. They're doing everything right.
And remember, you have a Leinster winner down involved with that intermediate team down there, and he's come up through the underage with them as well.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you have these two teams now in a county final, and a county final, I know, I've played in enough of them, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And it's just, I'm more excited about this game than the other game because they're two up-and-coming teams with fabulous footballers. I'm looking forward to anything can happen. And again, like, I'm swaying on the side of Shandona because I've more allegiance to it. Sorry, Jerry. But I'm very excited about the Tubberclare young players coming through. Matty Whitaker, I can't wait to see that man in the Westmeath jersey for years to come.
I've no doubt that both these clubs will be senior in the next couple of years, next 2 to 3 years. I have no doubt in that, but it's down to tomorrow and a Wednesday.
Yeah, they both want to be there in 2026, Alan. Right, lads, Damien, I'm going to go to you now with a prediction on this intermediate final. Can you throw any light on how you think this one is going to go?
Well, I think maybe Tubberclare's time has come. They were in the final a few years ago. They didn't really perform. They've been in the league final since in Cusick Park. Didn't go well for them either. Maybe they've got that out of their system, and the progress they've made, the players they're bringing through, the midfield battle is going to be huge. They might just have an edge there, and if they can take their chances, that's going to be the big thing. If they can take the scoring chances, they haven't always done that in finals, but I think if they can do that tomorrow, I think they can get to senior football.
Shane, how do you see this one?
Yeah, it's the matchups. I think Aaron Craig played a game on Tuesday night after suffered a loss after extra time. I think Shandona absolutely need him in the middle of the field. Beside Caleb Fortnum, Caleb has progressed brilliantly over the last couple of years. But to throw Caleb out there on his own physically against Owen McCabe and young Darragh O'Connor, I think they lose that battle there if that's the case. For me, the outstanding line tugged out between the 30 is the half-back line for Shandona. I think if you look at a Garrett Carr, Daniel Scahill and Darragh Conway, that's a serious half-back line to protect you first of all and then build everything you do after that. And maybe a little bit more experience on the bench from Shandona to come in near the end of the game. The way they're listed in a programme, Tom Malloy is a sub, but I very much doubt it. But that means that maybe one of the Doyles or Ryan Donnelly mightn't start, and you've Mickey Boyle, you've Darren Bittu to come in. And they're the things that's ultimately going to decide this game. You've young fellas, Finn Duffy, Tom Burke, Keelan Connell. We saw him score a great goal in a minor final a couple of years ago in torrential weather. If the occasion gets to them a little bit, that could be what swings it. But people might find this strange coming from me. I'm going to give the experienced Shandona the edge tomorrow.
Right, Dennis. So we get you. Go on anyway.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you're going back to Shandona anyway.
I'm hopeful for Shandona. I really am. I think going forward, I think in the years to come with young Will Scahill, Dylan Burke and all these lads, if they get senior, Shandona will be a force to reckon with. But at the moment, it's a hard to call because I think you look at Tuberclare, I think most of their players are at that level now where they could cause an upset. It's a very hard one to call. Again, as Shane said, and he alluded to, and it's very important, the matchups are so important. I know if I was a manager and if I was over Shandona, my focus would be stop Whittaker coming down there. Young Keller, centre back, he's not a bad footballer as well. My focus would be to stop that half back line for Tuberclare, and I think if you focused on that as a Shandona manager, you've half the job done. But the other side of it is, how do you stop an athlete like that coming through at speed? And it's very hard to call. I'm going to go Shandona.
Surprising that after all of that.
I thought it was edged the other way. No, listen, it's these games are just going to come down to fine margins. I don't think there's going to be a kick of the ball between either side. I just think that, along with what Denis is saying, I just think that the experience will probably tell coming to a final, and I think that Shandona might just edge it. But I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Tuberclare won it either.
Yeah, the boys will be delighted now. Tuberclare boys not making them favourites anyway. Lads, we'll move on from the intermediate and we'll go on to Sunday's games. Now, Damien, I might talk to you just quickly about the minor football final and Mullingar Shamrocks against the Downs. The only thing I do want to say about this one, that right now this game is weather permitting. I think I'm right in saying that it is fixed for Cusick Park 1:15 on Sunday, but if the pitch is not playable, it may have to be moved. So again, there'll be an announcement made on that at some stage tomorrow through all the various social avenues and whatever. Damien, have you seen much of these two minor teams, Mullingar and the Downs?
Now, two big clubs, obviously, coming into a minor final. I suppose it's most unlikely. We have to be honest. It's most unlikely to take place in Cusick Park. The weather is probably coming against it, but it is going to be on Sunday. I understand they have plans in place for another venue, and that's likely to happen. It's a shame too for the young minor footballers and the stars of the future that they can't have their day in Cusick Park, but so be it. I think the important thing is that conditions are taken into account and that the facilities are at the very, very best that they possibly can be for the senior football final, which is obviously the showpiece. But I don't know a whole lot about these, but obviously two quality clubs, great work going on at underage level. The Downs have been in all of the Division 1 finals again, from under 14, 16 to minor level, which is a phenomenal achievement, and they've done that a few times. Mullingar Shamrocks are coming back in recent years, and they'll be very keen to do well. The Downs edged it, I think, in the group stages when the sides met, so maybe that's the clue heading into Sunday's final.
Shane, I don't know if you've been, your young lads involved with the minor football side of it. You were involved with some of the development squads. Can you give us any insight on what's going to happen here in this game on Sunday?
I think there's a couple of really interesting factors in it, Ray. First of all, I think 95% of the lads are in school together. Niall O'Brien may tell you, in CBS, know each other intimately. They're playing, or supposed to have played each other last weekend in a minor hurling final, the vast majority again. From the Downs perspective, it mightn't be a bad idea if the game isn't in Cusick Park, because I think the crowd could be an impact on them. Obviously, they've got their senior team in a county final. They used to speak years ago about people never coming out Crow Park with a minor and a senior, and I often thought it was the pressure from the crowd on those young men. Shamrocks are spattered with lads that have CBS title, obviously, a couple of county under-20s. Their midfield of Christo Ormsby and Ty Masterson is formidable, and big, strong men coming up against probably a slightly younger downside. There's you've Luke Myler and Jamie Callahan, and they wouldn't have the same experience, and They are a little bit younger. I think the Downs are probably a year behind where Shamrocks are. If you look at Shamrocks have been in this their third out of 4 years in county minor finals, and a lot of guys have been in that situation. Interestingly, with Adam Buckley, did he get man of the match in a semi-final? That's their goalie, and a lot of the platform of football now is from a goalkeeper with a big, strong middle third. And for me, that's where Shamrocks are going to win this game. As much as Dennis knows people all over the place. My children went to school in the Downs. The youngest lad is still there. I think we'll get on to the marquee things. They still might have something to celebrate over there, but this young Downs team just mightn't have enough. Without saying that, they have some real quality in Michael Maloney and Pádraig Monaghan, a couple of young guys that I've seen for quite a long time between Common and Munskull and club football coming up. The group game won't stand for much, but like I said, if it happens not to be in Cusack Park, it might help the Downs a little bit.
Yeah,
because the pressure from the crowd is going to be huge.
Well, look, as I said, we'll move on because I don't think it's fair. We don't know a whole pile about these young lads. But that minor football final, I think I'm right in saying, will definitely be played this weekend. Will definitely be played on Sunday. It's just a matter of the venue. And this minor football championship is sponsored by MJS Building and Development of New York. So shout out to the lads there for their sponsorship as well. Now, boys, we're going to move on to what is the big game of the weekend. Senior football final sponsored by Shea Murta Precast. It's a hugely look forward to anticipated game, Alan. It's going to be a major battle. Probably everybody's favourites going into this one. If Paddy Power knows anything at all, I suppose he's going to make the Downs as favourites. But this again, it's going to be a toss of the coin how it goes.
Yeah, listen, I would presume that the Downs will be strong favourites going into it. They won the first round. First round really means nothing. It's 10 or 11 or 12 weeks ago since the first round of the championship, won 3-13 to 10. I think that since then, Kinnegad have progressively got better. They might have had a bit of a blip against Thirds Pass in one of their matches, but since then they've progressively got better. The scores have gone up. They've got a couple of lads back from America, which has been really, really essential to them getting to this county final. In saying that, the Downs are one of the best sides I've seen playing in Westmeath in a long, long time. They've been absolutely outstanding this year. They've been a joy to watch. Bit of a blip in the semi-final against Mullingar Shamrocks in the first half, but at the same time, they took serious advantage of the small bit of wind that was with them in the second half and really pushed on and showed how good they can actually be. They've been a joy to watch all year. They've been the best team in the championship, but as we've seen before, maybe not too often, a lot of the time that the best team throughout the championship end up tripping themselves up in a county final. But listen, it's going to be no more than the intermediate final. The matchups are going to be essential to this. Who are Kinnegad going to put on Luke Loughlin? Who are going to put on Ian Martin at centre forward, who scored 5 points and playing the semi-final. He was absolutely outstanding. They have Jonathan Lynham. They're littered with fantastic footballers in an attacking sense. So it's going to come up, and listen, no better man than Jack to get them matchups right. But whoever's going to be picking up these players, they really, really need to be tight. If you give these Downs players an inch, they'll take a mile. As we said in the semi-final, Ray, myself and yourself did it. If you give Luke Loughlin a sniff, he's going to punish you. So it's a lot of this game is going to depend on the matchups and how well they'll do.
Dennis, you've seen both these teams, firsthand. We've all been impressed with how the Downs have, gone through the group stages, undefeated. Couldn't have done any better than that under new management this year as well. But Kinnegad, I think we said with 10 minutes to go in the last group game, they were in Section B and relegated, and lo and behold, here we are now in the county final. So, they're going to come in probably as less favourites. They won't mind that. But again, how do you see the matchups going here?
Yeah, I suppose I kind of called it earlier. We did a podcast earlier in the year, and I said Kinnegad were playing against Athlone, and I felt that Kinnegad were getting 3 players back from America, that they were definitely going to improve an awful lot. There were 3 very top players that were performing very well out in America, I heard. And I knew once they got them back, like the way the game has gone at the moment, the half-back line, anyone from that direction going forward are causing an awful lot of trouble. And that's what Kinnegad were getting back on it. You have a manager that his game plan revolves around midfield, half-back line, driving forward and cutting out attacks and that. So I knew Kinnegad were going to cause an awful lot of trouble for Lomans in the semi-final. I didn't think they'd beat Lomans. At the same time, I suppose Sam McCartan going off injured was a big, I suppose, for me, probably cost Lomans in the long run. But at the same time, Kinnegad deserve to be where they are. And Jack has done a great job with them. I still think the Downs are the team to beat. They've just been impressive, and as they've gone on, every game they've got better and better. I was in the gym today and I was working out, and I looked over to my left-hand side, and who did I see working out? Only Luke Loughlin. Friday, the match is on Sunday. Here's a man that's focused on providing, or I suppose, putting out the best performance he can for his club. He's getting himself ready for a county final. So I think, like, when you look at that, you look at the Downs as a team. They have so many good players, but to have that marquee footballer that is so focused on getting the next championship win, it's hard to look past them.
Shane, we use the word momentum, all us experts on the hurlers on the ditch as such. But Kinnegad have momentum from the last group game to a quarter-final to a semi-final, but the Downs have that momentum since the start of the year.
Yeah, I was expecting you to mention the word Ray. I was going to say the same thing. Kinnegad have built it, or fallen into it. Their last 10 minutes against Athlone, and Jack alluded to it in interviews, they found something. You know, we've said it before, they let off the shackles and they went for it. They've restructured their team in the last couple of rounds. It gives them a much better balance, and the return of Josh Gahan in particular to the team has helped an awful lot. But the Downs have had it from day dot, you're correct. The Downs very well prepared. Equally Kinnegad are, but the Downs preparation came from the last penalty in a penalty shootout this time last year. It started that moment, and you can see it in the balance of the team, the focus, the preparation. Dennis talks about Luke being in the gym. I know for a fact that the rest of them are living in the gym out in the Downs. Kevin O'Brien mentioned it to me recently, the new hurling manager. He said, whenever you go in, they're there. These guys they're focused. It's not a game I'll sit in the fence on. I think they're awesome. I think they're absolutely awesome. The matchups are going to be interesting. County finals, there were never big margins in the scoreline, but I can only see one winner. Genuinely, I've tried to make the reasons in my head why it could bounce the other way, and maybe why the Paddy Power could be wrong. But I think in this case, Alan has said it, they're actually on paper and on performance as good a senior team that we've seen. Now, granted, it's a one-off season, but I think they would beat what comes in front of them in Westmeath over the last 15 or 20 years. They could get tougher tests perhaps from teams of the past, but I just really think they're awesome, and they have options off the bench. Met Dermot Power on the pitch last weekend and the weekend before. So 2 weekends ago his daughter pucked the winning point for Clonkill, and he's elated, he's over the moon. Her boyfriend Conor Slevin was on your St. Bridget's team last weekend, and Dermot was over the moon, but I'm very sure he's looking for a hat-trick of weekends. He's nervous about it. He understands that Kinnegad are very well schooled and they're a very good football inside. I just think that the Downs have enough here. The matchups are going to be brilliant. Like Josh Gahan and Darren Giles is a battle to watch for any day, any month, any weather. Two big, strong, honest footballers and watch them go together. I'd be really interested with Jonathan Lynham and Breen Cooney. You know, maybe the master and the student within in a county setup, and who will Breen come out 50-50 in that? If he does, Kinnegad have a really, really good chance. But then the Downs can bring on, is it the Kilmartin? Andrew Kilmartin. Like we watched him down in Cork, Ray, making his county debut earlier in the year, and he's playing the finishing role for the Downs at the moment. You know, come on as a sub, and inter-county football. I think they're awesome. I'm not going to be hide behind it. I think the Downs win at the weekend, but Kinnegad will not let themselves down.
Damien, Shane alluded to it there. Speaking to both players and the management that night, and speaking to the managers after the semi-finals, both these sides have what they now call their starting team and their finishing team. But the Downs have a huge amount of talent, you know, coming off that bench. But just looking at Kinnegad in the semi-final as well, you know, they showed well in that game against Lomans when they needed that injection near the end. You know, they got it off their bench as well. So two benches, you know, big roles to play this weekend as well.
Yeah, and look, I suppose one of the pointers for this final would be the performance of the Downs in the second half of their semi-final. You know, when they had to do it, and that's a good sign in the team because they were under pressure. Mullingar Shamrocks had them on the back foot. They were a point ahead, and the big question was asked. And you know, Luke Loughlin, the marquee player, the guys have spoken about, so important. But he delivered in the second half a stunning goal. They just took over around the middle third. Their half-back line very impressive. Their midfield, you know, they're a very, very well-balanced team. But then you look at Carlstown Kinnegad. Some of their good players have only returned recently, and certainly they have momentum. We saw that in the second half performance against St. Lomans. Josh Gahan, outstanding. Brian Cooney, you know, I think he fulfilled his potential that day. He was excellent. I don't think they're going to be easily denied. There's not going to be a whole lot in it. They scored 120 in that semi-final also, and that's not something you'd always associate with Carlstown Kinnegad. People would have said in the past that Jack Cooney was too defensive and his teams would rather keep the scoring down than put scores on the board, but that wasn't the case in the semi-final. They scored 120 against St. Lomans, and that's very impressive. So that suggests to me that they are going to be teak tough opposition on Sunday. It's going to take a performance from the Downs to win this, but you know, all the pointers and all the clues, I think they'll lie in that second half performance from the Downs in the semi-final. It was very impressive.
Yeah, we're going to go to the audience here for a second. Rose, are you going to talk to us? Rose Corcoran from the Downs. Rose, back in the final again this year, it was a tough defeat to take last year, but as Shane said, you know, they changed management and, you know, they really put their shoulders to the wheel and you're back here now Sunday.
Well, please God, now we had a bit of a damper but for John Murta pass on the last few days and that, so I hope they do it for him now and think of him when they're playing. And they're a good team, and if Luke gets a few 2-pointers, it won't be too bad. But we can't take anything for granted. Kinnegad has improved, as you said there, in a lot of all their games. And the way the ball will hop on the day, won't it, huh?
Well, that's what they say anyway, but you know, we're certainly hoping for a cracking game. Is Kevin McGrath there from Carlstown Kinnegad? Kevin, I know the magic number out in Carlstown Kinnegad is 29, I think. Is that the magic word I'm hearing being spoken this week? 29 since the last one and 29 before that. 29 years ago for the last, 29 before that as well. So you'll be hoping for the lucky omen to come through this Sunday as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're just delighted to be there. I mean, the last couple of years have been tough. We've been knocking on the door for a while. And I suppose for us, it's all about the journey. I mean, we've had a great bunch of lads who've really bonded together for the last couple of years. You know, we've been in senior league finals. We've been in a final 2 years ago. So, you know, we're following the likes of the Downs and Lomans, good clubs who are doing things right. And we're doing things right, and eventually our day will come. Maybe it's going to be Sunday. We don't know. I suppose we're in bonus territory, really. You know, we weren't really expecting to be here the way the year went so far. So we have a free shot. I mean, there's no doubt that the Downs.
Yeah, you are going to turn up now, Kevin, are you?
Well, I think we should.
You're not just delighted to be there and stay at home now or anything like that.
The programmes are printed, so we may as well. I mean, other than that, we probably wouldn't. We like Jim Gavin, we might pull out. But no, but look at, I mean, we're in bonus territory. We're looking forward to it. I mean, there's great buzz around Carlstown and Kinnegad. Local rivals. It's probably the final everybody wants. And look, we're going to enjoy it. And hopefully, look at if it's our day, if we turn up, we'll give it a rattle.
Yeah, well, it's the first time in 10 years we haven't sent Lomans in the county final, so I suppose it does bring that bit of novelty to it as well. And then we can't forget we're talking about a Junior 1 local derby in a Junior 1 final. This is the ultimate local derby here as well, so I'm sure there's major bragging rights on offer here this one Sunday.
Yeah, look, there's a healthy respect, between both clubs. Sometimes it's a deep, healthy respect, and you have to go deep to find it, but I mean, it is there. I mean, we're great rivals. I mean, lads go to school together in Carlstown. I mean, there's families along our road, some Carlstown, some Kinnegad, some the Downs. So, yeah, look, I mean, listen, it adds to the whole occasion. So, yeah, we will turn up, but we're looking forward to it.
Very good, Kevin, very good. Thanks very much, and we wish both teams all the best in the final. Alan, that local rivalry, does it add to it? Does it impact on players? Are they aware of all of that? Or, how do they react to that?
No, it absolutely impacts on it because, as Kevin just said there, lots of these lads went to school together. It's one of those occasions that nobody wants to lose. Like, I know people say no one wants to lose the county final, but you really, really don't want to lose to your arch rivals. But in saying that, I think that the Downs are probably heavy enough favourites. The two hardest working teams are in this county final. There's a reason Kinnegad are in it. The reason Kinnegad are in it is because they worked harder than every other team to make sure they got to where they are now. On average, throughout the whole year, I think the Downs are just slightly above 24 points a game. But Kinnegad, while they started off slow, the last 3 games they're averaging 22 points a game. So it's all going to come down to scores at the end of the day and who can get the most out of each other out of their forward line. The Kinnegad are starting to motor quite well up in that forward division, which they weren't earlier on in the year. But then you also have the Downs who are they scored what did they score in 120 in the semi-final and didn't really play that well in the first half. So it's one of those games where if Kinnegad can come in and outwork the Downs, who knows what the result might be, but the Downs have to come in fully focused, because if you don't come in fully focused into this game, anything can happen.
And Dennis, as well as that, we actually have the two teams meeting on Sunday who were the beaten finalists over the last 2 championships as well. So, the Downs did win one earlier the year before that, all right. But, does that impact on them going into the Sunday? Or does everyone forget what's been history and just focus on what's ahead of them?
I think when you cross the line, you forget about those things. You focus on what you have to do as a player. You look at the Downs on paper are, for me, the better team. At the same time, Kinnegad have got better and better. They've got players back, and I think they've no pressure on them. You can even see by this gentleman here, he's happy enough that we're there in this position. But I think underneath it all, he's thinking, we still have a good rack at this. We can give these boys a good rattle. And if you keep Luke Loughlin quiet, now I know it's a very
big word.
It is. Look, it is. Of course, it is. And you look at any of the teams that's gone through that won championship over the years, John Heslin's and whatever. If you keep them quiet, you always have a chance. If you can keep Luke Loughlin quiet, and I've no doubt Jack Cooney has come up with a game plan for that, Kinnegad will have a chance. Now they are up against it because, as Alan has said there, they have been the informed team all year, and they've excelled. Like the second half against Mullingar Shamrocks. Mullingar Shamrocks were riding on a wave. They were coming in very confident. They had all their players back and they were performing very well. And then they realised they were up against a juggernaut that was the Downs.
Kevin, you want to come into us on that, on the senior game?
Yeah, I suppose that again, looking forward to a great final. I suppose Kinnegad are obviously going to play it down a small bit because everyone, the dog in the street, is talking about the Downs, and rightly so. Serious outfit, in fairness, absolutely. I think Jack Cooney could be sitting at home tonight and he'd be saying, he'd be relishing this, he'd be saying, yeah, let's all talk about the Downs and this, that and the other. Kinnegad 2 years ago were probably a team that everyone was talking about, and it kind of fell away last year, and I do think it's going to be probably a little bit closer than everyone might think. Look, at the end of the day, I would call myself very neutral for this fixture. I'm just hoping the team who wins it goes ahead and represents Westmeath very well. But there was one reason I actually wanted to get the mic back, because I think, including yourself, Ray, I think you deserve a lot of credit, including the county board, for putting this sort of stuff on to spread the word of the game in Westmeath, and you're doing a very good job. Like, I was able to drive back last night and I was able to listen to the hurling, and I'm not going to I will put my hand up and say I wouldn't be the biggest hurling fan I've ever, but I was able to listen to the voices and listen to what's going on and tune in last weekend, and it was in Iarmhi TV, able to tune into the game, and only for the job that you're doing. And I think it's kudos to everyone. It's very easy for the lads to get up there on stage and someone might meet them outside and why didn't you predict this or predict them. To keep this going, this is very important for Westmeath J. I think in future, it's supporting our game in throughout the world. There's people come to me from everywhere who said, I watched Up for the Match or watched every week you're putting on the podcast and stuff. I just think it's kudos to Westmeath J and to yourselves. I just wanted to say that and wish whoever in the finals this weekend, wherever it is. And I know I again been very neutral. I'm not going to sit in the fence and say yes or no between the Downs and between Kinnegad. I'd be hoping whoever wins the weekend, who'll go on and represent Westmeath in the Leinster Championship, and I'd be shouting for them. The very same as the hurling as well. I know Alan is involved with Castletown, but I just want to make that point that it's fair play to you for putting this job on.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Shane, I want to come to you just for quickly on something we know that I think myself and yourself have done a couple of games this year, but I think at this stage in the championship, Kinnegad are to their third goalkeeper. Is that something that Jack has been working on? Is it a tactical move? Is it kick out based? Will it be settled now for this weekend? Will he be happy enough with all these positions, you reckon?
Well, he's going to have to be. Yeah. It's the last chance.
It's an unusual one, though,
I think it was through necessity in some cases, a little bits of injuries, trying something different. We know Shane Fleming has an excellent boot on him. It worked. They got to where they can't be any further than they are tonight. They're in a county final on Sunday at 3:30, or no, quarter. What time is it? The clock's changing, or maybe anyway.
Quarter past 3.
No, I think he's settled. There's been a team submitted to the program. I won't release any of that because that's not fair to anybody to do that. But I think they've been settled now for a couple of weeks. Let's say it that way. And look, all managers will look when they're picking a team the Thursday, Friday night, sometimes Saturday morning before a game. Something can pop up and you need to make changes, but it's wonderful for him that he's had options. It probably is from a kick-out perspective and preparing and getting, repetition in what's going on the pitch. It probably is a little bit of a handicap that they haven't had a steady goalkeeper all year. The game will swing in that section of the field. That definitely the middle pair and the midfielders on both sides. I think Kinnegad need a huge performance from Breen, which he has delivered in fairness in the last 2 rounds when he's been put out there. If Jonathan Lynham gives 20 minutes like he did in the second half against Mullingar Shamrocks, he'll win that battle. He just blew Shamrocks out of the water when he got really aggressive in his run and really aggressive going for kickouts. And I think he was the guy that turned the momentum of that game, his long ball into Luke. People say Luke made the pass look good. It was an excellent kick from 45 or 50 metres into the bread basket. Luke turns and stitches it like he did. Goalkeeper won't be the only place where Jack has a lot of things to think about this weekend, I think, Ray.
Damien, I'm going to finish up with you there before we go for predictions. You spoke to both managers last week. What vibes did you get from both of them?
Yeah, well, Jack Cooney was certainly, he came across very well. He was very relaxed. You know, he just spoke about the fact that the final had kind of jumped up and bitten them, is how he put it. They never expected, when they were 9 points down against that Loan, they never expected that they were going to be in a county final. But lo and behold, they came back, they found something that day, and they turned their season around. Dermot Power, on the other hand, was quite impressive, and came across really well, and he seems to have an abundance of kind of riches to work with, and that's kind of what he touched on the whole collective strength behind the team, the number of players he had, and the great attitude of the players, just wanting to get on with it. And as the lads, Shane has spoken about, the hurt, maybe they're driven by the hurt. Kieran McGeaney in the past would have spoken about being driven by hurt. Maybe the Downs were driven by the hurt of losing that penalty shootout last year. And they had Ian Martin. Ian Martin was in that night, a very impressive guy as well. Probably somebody who, you know, he comes under the radar, but very, very impressive forward. Jack Cooney is good, but maybe he's just too many fires to put out.
Just like we're after talking about the abundance of talent that the Downs have, but like there's no shortage of fires for Dermot Power and Barry Connery and these lads to put out. Like you have Dan and Ger Leach who are shooting the lights out at the minute in the last 3 or 4 games. You have Breen Cooney, and you have Darren Giles. So they're 4 top class forwards that Kinnegad have in their locker, on top of lots of an array of talent around the pitch. So the Downs are going to have a lot of work to do to make sure that they put out them fires as well. And just before we go any further, I think you'd have to mention St. Loman's football team. I think they're after playing in 10 finals in a row. There's not too many clubs, and this is their first one to have to be put in, but they've still got to the semi-final down a lot of players, so you'd have to say kudos to them. But this weekend now is all about the Downs and Kinnegad and who comes out on top.
No, Alan, you're after teeing yourself up nicely now. Who do you think is going to get the Flanagan Cup on Sunday?
I still think that the Downs will probably win it, but it won't be by as much as people might think.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'll be on the same lines of Alan there. I just think the Downs have too much. At the same time, if I was in the Kinnegad dressing room and I was focused on stopping Luke Loughlin, and if we did that, I still think we were in with a good chance. But you'd have to go to the Downs.
Shane?
Yeah, I haven't hit it. I think the Downs will win the championship. Ray, I'm praying and hoping from a big performance in Kinnegad to make it a spectacle for the neutrals, and I am a neutral. But I think all through the pitch, these men are ready to win a championship, and they're primed. Their age profile, their conditioning, the quality of football are on every line. And I think the individual battles, they come out on top in the majority of them. And that's not taken away from the Kinnegad players. Alan has mentioned them, and they have been excellent. I just think the Downs come out on top on more of those battles, and collectively with the running power, they win at the weekend.
Damien?
Yeah, and you know, I suppose the Downs players are only human, so I think they have to be careful here. They're overwhelming favourites, so they have to guard against complacency. That could be a factor. There is a lot of local rivalry there. You can't go into a final too cocky, and they have to be careful about that. I think Coulstown Kinnegad will push them every step of the way. I don't see a huge lot in it at the end, but I think the Downs have enough scoring power to get over the line by a few points.
Look, lads, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank everyone that's up on the stage that came in to speak on behalf of their clubs as well, and we wish all the clubs all the very best in the next 2 weeks. Junior 2 football final on Saturday the 1st of November, Terrace Pass and St Paul's, and the Junior 1 final St Joseph versus Ballinagore on Sunday the 2nd of November. Both competitions sponsored by Clark's Bar here in Patrick Street in Mullingar. The Intermediate Championship tomorrow, Saturday, 3 o'clock. 3:30, my mistake, being correct, 3:30, sponsored by Shea Murta Precast, a cracking game and prospect here as well, Tuberclare and Shandona. Minor football, again, I'll just reiterate, we probably won't hear until tomorrow an exact venue for that game on Sunday. It will be played on Sunday. That's Mullingar Shamrocks versus the Downs, sponsored by MGS Building and Development of New York. And then the big one of the weekend, 3:15 on Sunday, the Downs versus Carlstown Kinnegad. It has the makings of being a cracker. It's again sponsored by the Shea Murta Precast. It's a local derby. Two really excellent teams, a lot of inter-county experience on view, a lot of young talent on view. I think, lads, it's going to be a cracker. If you can't be in there, for our viewers at home, if you're abroad and you can't get to Cusick Park, we'll cover it live on Iarmhi TV on Saturday. We'll also be live from Cusick Park tomorrow and for that game as well. And then to finish off the weekend, we have the replay of the Slevens Coaches Senior Hurling Championship. That's coming up on Monday at 2 p.m, I think, as far as I'm aware, and that will have extra time. No games this weekend will have extra time, and they will all go to replays. Yeah, just to confirm that for anyone that just maybe tuned into us from abroad. But lads, I want to thank the lads, Alan as always, Dennis, Shane as always, and Damien. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to thank the production team, Tom Brown. I want to thank Gavin for his cameras, Kevin Dolan in particular. And just before we finish up, Kevin, thank you very much for your nice words. But we'll also say that we watched the number of viewers we had, and we had Kevin on one of the podcasts during the year, and it actually was the maximum number of viewers we had. So don't know what you're doing, Kevin, who you paid to get on it, but that is it. But look, thanks very much, lads. We'll finish up here from Clark's Bar tonight, wishing all teams all the very best over the next 2 weekends. From myself, Ray Gavin, over and now, we'll see you tomorrow.